Wade and Wade reacts.
We got a request to react to a Lord Baldermort video, so let's get into it.
Fun. So much fun. Since the Kikajik's opened, it has been never-ending fun. The despoiler broke the borders, opened the gates of heaven, and now we can to and fro with impunity. The corpse gods, men, are former brothers. They cannot defend everywhere, cannot be everywhere. So we hunt. We hunt like we have never been able to hunt in a very long time. What is time to an immortal? I digress. So my warband and I have found a world ready for the plucking, a juicy herd of ape things to play with, and oh, how we have been playing. It has all been work for me, not enough play. Destroying their defences, corralling their meagre defenders, breaking them. My boys are too enamoured with playing. They forget how hard I have to work to make them do the things that are required for us all to have uninterrupted play. But that has now finally been achieved. The threats all removed. Now we feast.
That's
now
some good voice
play.
acting right there.
This hive has now fallen, as the corpse god's minions and lick spittles would lament. We control its light, its heat, its every road, its every access point. Time to turn off the lights. Time to cover it with our cowl. The dark, the blessed dark. It brings out the best in the herd. My part is done. The playground is prepared. Time for us all to have some fun. Not just my boys. No, now it is my turn. I cannot neglect my duties, my role, my rule must always be maintained. I must watch my boys and make sure they are loyal, or I will be the one to be played with as I did my old master. He should not have lowered his guard. He should not have lowered his guard. Weak, he was weak, so he became my toy. But now
Crazy.
I have them all
So
playing.
he took his master
I have
out,
them all playing, so I can sneak in a bit of
and he
fun
thinks that might happen to
myself.
him.
Dad, I will only get 48 hours at a push. Is it time enough? Is it enough time? I think so. I have become so very good at what I do. I make friends. I can do this in time. Yes, I can. I can do this. But it must be a special friend.
Sounds like he's in
friend
a room
worthy
talking to
of
himself and
knowing.
planning out what he's going
For I
to
must
do.
know them inside and out. Oh yes, a new friend. But whom? As the ape things run hither and thither, I set to choosing. So much choice. As they run from the explosions, as they flee into our sentry guns and get cut down, I laugh. I laugh. They are so amusing. We set off alerts, evacuation orders. At first they did not run, so we levelled a few blocks. Now they run into our guns, run into our clutches. My pretty birds fall on them and take their pick, dragging them
War seems
into
to make him
our
happy.
home. The darkness, flying
Extremely happy.
like pretty birds and snatching one here, one there, taking them back to a nest, ready for the fun. I have one already set up. When we first pushed into the hive, I found it and prepared it. I must find my friend and get them there. Some, like the big ones, they think that they will last longer, or will be able to keep up for longer. I know this is not true. The big ones have always been big. It means they have less to tell me. They have less to define themselves outside of their being big or boring. Our newest initiates often like the small ones, the little ones. They have more fire. They've had to be more snappy to get by. But this is often a facade. When you get past the gnashing of teeth and squealing and shouting, the little ones are just little. They offer a certain titillation, the wrongness of it to the newest initiates. But this is my the first stage. Doing things because they were wrong is passé. I tired of it centuries, millennia ago. Now, I need a good friend, an interesting friend. A friend worth knowing. Yes, a friend worth knowing. Amongst the wailing crowds, I see two candidates. Medium
How long has
size,
this guy been alive?
fast. Let us see. The
Sounds like he's been alive long enough to go crazy from all of this.
Slowly slumping hammer block. Controlled explosions designed to permit the inhabitants to run.
Dang.
The first rank of ape things are torn apart by bolt sentries, exploding like fountains. All the flock attempt to turn away, but the back of the flock still surges forward, fleeing their sinking homes, so they push their fellow ape things forward into the boom splat. Fountains all, I startled titter. I must watch my candidates. One has stopped. He has a darkening patch around his groin as he pushes his way through the crowd in panic. He seems like he might be a boo-hoo-hooer, like our father could.
Sounds like he's wounded and that dark patch is blood.
Boring.
I guess he's too weak to be a candidate of his.
But he is looking up, down, around. He is searching. I like him. Aware of the threat from all angles. His instincts are strong. I like him. I must know him. I must make him my friend. Yes, it will be him. I follow him. He is fast. He is fit. He takes care of himself. Good. With a grenade here, bullshot there. I change his course, his direction. Always he is fast.
Oh, he likes him so much he's singing now.
I have chosen well. I guide him to where I can play. Into an old warehouse. None are there now. I make sure.
Oh, looks like he's
I chose this spot. No.
setting up bombs to lead people to where he can so-called play with them.
Without interruption. I am there. When he comes in through the door, I left it open. He runs inside.
Oh, he's setting all this up like the
immediately
Riddler.
hides. Good. He controls his urge to keep running. Not exhausted, but intelligent. One can hear running. He is clever. I start the fun. I walk slowly but heavily. My footfalls resounding on the metal grids. I can hear him. His breath stops. He can definitely hear me. But he does not panic. He does not hold his breath and just stay in situ and close his eyes, as the little ones do. He starts to reposition. Well done. What fun. He finds the weapons I placed there. He reaches up and delicately,
he's looking for a fight.
slowly, takes one of the stabbers. So quietly. Impressive. I have chosen well. I descend the stairs dramatically and heavily. He knows where I am, I'm sure. I can see him in the dark.
He really put
but
this
cannot
together.
see
He planned
me
this every
well.
move.
So I take a few more steps. More. And move into the light so he can have his opportunity. I look around slowly. He must think I wish seclusion. I am checking that I am alone. I reach up and
This guy's
slowly
insane.
take off my helmet, brush my hand over my head, and take in a deep breath and exhale slowly, like a tired ape thing after a long day. At peace, vulnerable. He has not done it. Oh. I turn my back, giving him that little nudgy nudge. He can still see my head. And it is so vulnerable. The stabbers have scopes. How much more of an invitation do I need to give him? A piercing pain snaps the back of my head as the clamour of a single discharge echoes around the warehouse. I try not to giggle as I slowly fall onto my knees and then forward to the ground. There is blood, for certain. I can feel it trickle down my neck, then across my head and into my face as I lay there dead. Of course, the stubble was strong enough to break skin, but not to pierce my skull. I am not an idiot. So much blood, head wounds.
So he put a bullet in the gun that can't affect him.
He finally lets out a slow and steady exhale of breath. He is controlled for anything. I chose well. Brave. He comes to inspect the body to make certain. He stands above me for a moment. He is weighing up the risk of shooting again. The sound could attract my boys, but he so wants to make sure I am dead. It is then that I simply cannot control myself. I wish I had been able to draw this out, but I start. I roll over, tears coming out of my eyes from the mirth. I hope he tries to shoot me again, tries to execute me. So much fun! Oh! I have to roll forward and snatch the gun from his grasp as he puts it in his mouth. Thankfully, I'm in time. Clever. He ruined all of my work. He is a wily one. I've driven well. So I flick his temple and knock him out.
Dang.
He wakes on the lovely board I have prepared for him. His eyes stay closed at first. He does not wish to look. But unlike so many,
I wouldn't want to see your face either.
He snaps them open. He knows what he will see. This one is clever. His face does not change its expression of anger or hate. He knows. I speak to him. You are impressive, my friend. One in a million. I feel you could have been a commissar. Had your history been different, your birth, your station. I want so much to know you, inside and out.
So what is he planning to do? Cut him open?
Me. I am right. He had such potential. He will be an honor to know. And it was. He lasted so long. No boo-hoo. No. Screaming, of course. Especially with the nerve augmenters I shared with him. He had to feel everything. It was the least I could do for a friend in the last hours, to be truly alive.
That's
and
crazy. He made sure his nervous system couldn't shut down.
I am a good friend. Even when I showed him his spleen, no boo-hoo. Even when we both looked at his genitalia up close. Even when I showed him his still beating heart. I honor him.
Talk about knowing somebody inside and out.
Wormy.
This man is the epitome of insanity.
On the floor in the dark, no arms or legs. He is better than this. He was a good friend. My boys have finished playing.
That's what you call a friend? I wonder what he does to his brothers.
I allow my friend to see the vids that prove he is the last member of his hive to grow. An honor he has deserved.
Wow.
Finish him. He looked like he would betray himself and begin to boo. I save him from that. He was a worthy egg thing to know.
That's crazy.
Welcome, gentle listener. I apologize for the severity of this introduction, but there can be times when the threat, the terror, the horror of an enemy can be denuded by being too distant.
Now he's speaking perfectly fluently.
I felt it was necessary to show, rather than tell, the true threat of this, one of the most dark and terrible groups of beings in the entire grim darkness of the future. For today, we will now go into a very brief introduction to the 8th Legion of the Legiones Astartes, the Night Lords. Please remember that this is an introduction only. Should there be the appetite, I will engage in further entries for this, one of the most terrible forces to stalk the galaxy. For they have been set loose by the opening of the Cicatrix Maledictum. The 13th Black Crusade smashed the bottleneck of Cadia and opened that rent across the entire galaxy. Now they can go back and forth with ease, foraying into the material realm, then retreating back to the warp at a whim. The Warhammer 40k setting has become a thing of even more grim darkness than ever before.
It definitely has.
My sons, The galaxy is burning. We all bear witness to a final truth. Our way is not the way of the Imperium. We have never stood in the Emperor's light, never worn the Imperial eagle, and you never will. You shall stand in midnight clad, your claws forever red, with the lifeblood of my father's failed empire, whirling through the centuries as the talons of a murdered god. Rise, my sons, and take your wrath across the stars in my name, in my memory. Rise, my Night Lords. End quote. Conrad Kurz, Primarch of the 8th Legion of the Legionis Astartes, the Night Lords. Truer words have very seldom been said in all of the grim dark, for the 8th Legion were not akin to any of their brother Astartes. Where they had shining armor and a bold image of their own worthiness and righteousness, the 8th were under no such illusions, even from their inception on Holy Terror. For when the Emperor of Mankind designed his 20 Primarchs, from which his 20 legions of Space Marines would spring, he calculated all of the facets and forces he would require. His intent was to form the perfect army, the perfect warriors, the perfect tool for him to not only take every star in the system of the Milky Way galaxy, but also to then hold them. For this he would need many tools, for each of his Primarchs was to be a mighty general with the most formidable force the human race has ever produced, the Space Marines. Each legion of Astartes, Space Marines, was to have a very specific
He got
role.
the perfect voice
Indeed,
for this.
each would be able to wage war the likes that had never been seen, but each would also have a niche, a specialization. Many were shining knights of honor and power, designed to represent the greatness and goodness that resided in the breast of humanity. They were to be paragons and glorious examples that could be displayed to all of the universe as the best of what it was to be human. Not so for the Night Lords. For every organization, every government, every military need have those who will follow orders, will do unspeakable things without complaint or resistance. Forces that will elicit terror in their enemies and allies alike. For the Emperor knew that his race was fractious, and that the combined goal that they worked toward would not be enough for many. He knew that it was inevitable that some of his fellow humans would become greedy, would lose
Despicable
purpose,
sight.
would seek to
He needs to put a
aggrandize
helmet
himself
on.
at the first opportunity. The master of mankind, who had witnessed every age of humanity from their earliest forays into civilization all the way through the golden age of technology, and even through the calamity of Old Night, the age of strife, with humanity almost gutted out. He knew his race. He knew that many would simply bend the knee while his armies were present, only to renege on their oaths of fealty the instant he had departed. So, being the shepherd of all of humanity, he knew that he needed to have a deterrent. He needed to have a healthy respect from all of those worlds brought into compliance, but also a very necessary fear. Only in this way could he be guaranteed that one most elusive of all things, unity through loyalty. Humanity simply had no choice in his mind, or he would not have arisen, would not have thrown off his cloak of secrecy and taken the reins of direct power and leadership. Humanity had to be unified, or would be wiped out from his perspective. One that was very hard to argue with, considering the horrors of the Age of Strife, where Xenos, aliens, and demons had dominated and annihilated so many of our race. Hence, not all of his Primarchs, not all of his legions of Space Marines, could be the examples of virtue that was allotted to many. He needed a tool of fear, a bringer of terror. He needed a force that would be used to scare his people into staying compliant, to staying loyal. He had his Night Lords. The Primarchs were stolen by the powers of chaos and spread throughout the galaxy, but still the legions had character, and were employed without their fathers, the Primarchs, to lead them. The 8th, the Night Lords, were recruited from the most brutal prisons and pits of despair in all of Holy Terror, the present name of Earth, the cradle of humanity where the Emperor began his empire, his Imperium. They were scum. They would blanch at no activity. would bring a level of ferocity and sadism to their campaigns that would act as a deterrent forever after.
Yeah, they were already
when the Emperor
the most evil that they could find.
All of Terra during the long and bloody unification wars, his instinct was proven right. Almost immediately, one of his defeated allies, the Saragorn Enclave, turned and rebelled. They continued to tinker with genetic engineering, were attempting side-reading, eugenics to attempt to create powerful psychos, a practice utterly banned by the diktat of the Emperor. The master of mankind was informed, and is reputed to have said just 3 words. Just 3. Send the 8th. The 8th Legion were deployed and assaulted the Enclave, but they did not roll in with tanks and overwhelming firepower alone, as the other legions would. They made a bloody horror of the entire region. They hunted and tortured each and every person there. They wiped the entire population away with a viciousness that was beyond belief. With this as an example of exactly what would happen if any rebelled, Terra stayed royal, all of it. This was the way of the Night Lords. Fear. To act in such terrible and sadistic ways that entire star systems would then surrender to them when they had witnessed their savagery. It was true that any rebellion throughout the stars was almost instantly
they already sounded like Chaos
mention of their name. Many a governor would toy with the idea of declaring his world independent of the Imperium, as humans are so oft willing to forget their own history so swiftly. The scars dealt to them during their domination and compliance would often lose their sting over a mere generation, but the threat of their 8th would dispel their errant dreams very swiftly. The mention of them alone was enough to loose the bowels of most. So even before they eventually turned to evil, theirs was never a force that could ever be described as good, if such a thing exists in the grim darkness of the future. When they were reunited with their Primarch, Conrad Kurz, they changed very little. When some legions found their Primarchs, it was either a magnificent time where they were enhanced and saved by their sire, as in the case of the Blood Angels and Sanguinius, or it was a time of change, as in the case of the Death Guard. But few legions were left without some form of transformation when their genetic father and spiritual leader, their Primarch, was discovered. But this was not so for the Night Lords. Kurz's world was not a place that would ever engender a good man to arise from it. Despite Conrad being genetically predisposed to try to seek for justice, for law and order at every point, his methods were twisted by his early years on the world of Nostromo. For it was a cesspit of lawlessness, a horror of a world where survival of the fittest was the only law, and murder, rape and massacre were nightly events. They were, until Conrad subjugated the world through fear alone. But this is a tale for another time, when we can discuss the tale of Conrad Kurz in full. It was the habit of the Emperor to gift the world of that a Primarch had grown up on, had usually dominated, as Conrad had Nostromo, as a recruitment world for their legion. As such, the 8th's recruits were from that world, and had a part of its darkness. Later, Nostromo was to only give reinforcements from the worst
Warhammer world is brutal all the way around.
Denizens. The Night Lords started badly, but would get progressively worse as time went on, as each and every Marine was a travesty of a thing that could barely be called human, and it was even before they were trained and used by the Night Lords to perform their reigns of terror. For the Night Lords would take pride in their work, but their goals were not the same as their Primarch. For Conrad thought that the ends justified the means. The horrific butchery of one city, not just the callous extermination, but the torture of his entire population over an extended period while being broadcast to all surrounding areas, would then lead to the entire world surrendering out of fear. In this, Conrad could very realistically state that his tactics and strategies did not affect infrastructure and would mean a tiny proportion of the casualties that would have been created if another legion had invaded honorably. And he was right. But the fact remained that his legion did not have his ideal at their fore.
Shout out to y'all if y'all made it this far in the video. We're going to end it right here. About 4 minutes left. But the Night Lords, they seemed like they was already going to be enemies of the Imperium of Man, because just by the name alone, Night Lords.
Yeah.
That sounds like you're gonna fall to chaos.
Yeah, it sure does. And then the name Conrad Curse. Whatever planet he was over was definitely cursed. And it seems like the Night Lords were cursed to be a instrument of the warp.
Yeah. It's like they was probably already evil first, and then they say nobody's good in Warhammer, but probably weren't already good. And then once they did the backstory, it was like, you know what, we're just gonna call them the Night Lords. We're not gonna switch up the name.
Right. So the Emperor did approve of everything the Night Lords did prior to them turning to chaos.
Yeah.
Man, like he said, there is no such thing as good or evil in the Warhammer 40K universe. I guess it's whoever wins. May the best faction or the best group of people in the galaxy win.
Yeah.
Whether it be the Tyrannids, the Orcs that are pushing for Ragnarok, or the Imperium of Man. That does it for our reaction to this subscriber request. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Also, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you'll never miss a video from Wade and Wade Reacts.
We're out of there.
Peace.